time for Put Up Your Buchs. And if you're thinking, neither one of these guys is Steve Buchanan, well, thank you, Nancy Drew, you're correct. Steve is on vacation, but the rules are the same. Okay, so this time, Garion, you're gonna be putting up the Buchs, and then we're bringing back Nick Friar to debate you. So Nick, either agree with Garion's picks on tonight's MLB slate, or you're gonna pivot to another option. You know the drill, you've been here before. Quick look at last Thursday's results. It's a good time for Buchs to be on vacation because Garion, you tied the series last week. Okay, so no pressure, Garion. No pressure at all for you. You're going to start us off with your favorite pitcher for today, and hopefully you keep this going. And I guess now we have to keep track of your series with Nick Friar. I don't know. Just go ahead, Garion.
Yeah, it's a big tangled mess at this point. Should I probably just win the series because I predicted a Charlie Culberson home run? I think so.
Yeah.
$2,100 home run, guys. Anyway, let's talk about this slate. It is tiny. It is a tiny, tiny slate. It is only 4 games, which obviously makes the pitching options a little tough. You got to pick 2 of these guys. And I think really when it comes down to it from a pure upside perspective, this is a conversation between Brandon Woodruff and Luis Castillo. They are the 2 most expensive pitchers on this slate. They are the 2 best pitchers on this slate. I lean towards Castillo because of his matchup. I think the Marlins are just one of those teams right now where you have to try to exploit them as often as possible in DFS. So far in August, they have a 27% strikeout rate as a team. That is the 3rd highest mark in all of baseball. Castillo has also been really good since the start of June. He's got 14 starts in that stretch. He's got a 2.85 ERA, a 26% strikeout rate. Really just one bad start in his last 14. It was just a really, really bad start about 2 weeks ago, but I think Castillo's in a perfectly fine spot. And again, this is mostly about the Marlins and how they create the best pitcher on the slate.
Okay, Nick, are you gonna agree or pivot?
Yeah, I might be a little rusty at this, and that's probably why I'm agreeing with Garion so early on. But in reality, it's because of the slate, like he's talking about. It's either him to the Castillo or it's Woodruff, and I'm not going with Woodruff tonight. Castillo has too good of a matchup, and as Gary mentioned, he only had that one hiccup start against Cleveland over his last 6. He's had 7+ Ks in 5 of his last 6 starts, and that one outing too against Cleveland, it was in the rain too. So factor that in as well. He had everything going against him. The Marlins are 10th in K rate against right-handed pitching this season, and over the last 2 weeks, they've been striking out even more against right-handed pitching. So this kind of is a no-brainer too, especially when you consider that Woodruff, there is that potential for him being piggybacked with the Brewers relievers just because, they are kind of coasting to the postseason right now. So I just don't feel comfortable backing him. But Castillo is going to be pretty chalky tonight, and you got to figure out where you want to go with your number 2 pitcher. So, I mean, look, I'm not big on Taijuan Walker tonight. I'm not big on Zach Thompson tonight either. So a guy you may want to consider, I never thought I'd say this to back somebody, but Jameson Taillon is somebody you might want to look at as your number 2 starter, because that's going to be where you're going to have to find that difference tonight, because everybody's going to want to go after Castillo.
Yeah, such a small slate, so kind of hard to differentiate yourself. Garion, hit us with your favorite infielder.
Yeah, well, Nick mentioned he doesn't like Taijuan Walker tonight. I would agree. Taijuan Walker has been just a gas can since the All-Star break. He was actually starting to see his numbers go down in, late May into June. He had an amazing start to the season, but it's definitely tapered off. And since the All-Star break, he's faced 77 right-handed batters in a stretch that has been just bad from any single angle, or every single angle. Those 77 right-handed batters, a 700 slugging percentage and a 447 WOBA. He's given up 4.3 home runs per 9 to right-handed hitters in that span of time. So my suggestion would be to just find good right-handed hitters on the Los Angeles Dodgers, and I'm going to pick Trey Turner, who should lead off in this game, who has the potential to create fantasy points, not just with his bat, but also with his legs. We've seen the Dodgers score a ton of runs in recent games, so Turner could also be looking at a game where maybe he scores 2 or 3 runs just by himself. I think he is far and away the best offensive piece on this slate, and he's also got that multi-position eligibility, which really helps you construct lineups in a slate this small.
Okay, Nick, are you still rusty and just going to agree with Garion on this one?
Well, it came close. Trey Turner was on my radar tonight. I do think he's a great pick, but I'm actually going to go over to the Cardinals-Brewers game, and I'm going to go with Willy Adames. I will be going after Walker tonight, but in a different way. But Willy Adames at 5.2K against John Lester. And his numbers have improved since he went to Milwaukee, whether you're talking about versus righties or lefties. This month, he's been even better. He's got 4 doubles, 5 home runs. And then when you look at Lester specifically, that's where I'm kind of most interested. Right-handed hitters have an 866 OPS against him this month, and if you look at his 2 starts for the Cardinals, which have been in this month, he's gotten tagged 2 out of those 3 times. I know he did well his last time out, but I'm not necessarily going to buy into that this time, especially when he's going against the Brewers lineup that has done quite a bit of damage recently.
All right, let's move on to your favorite outfielder, Garion. Who are you going with?
Let's go back to that Brewers game. There's one guy in particular on the Brewers who has hit left-handed pitching better than everyone else on that roster, and it's Avisail Garcia, who, some people might not even remember exists. He's kind of faded away in recent years. He went out to Milwaukee. He didn't start the season all that well, but sort of with this new influx of talent that the Brewers have had and their offense just rising in general, he's been a lot better as of late, and I think it would surprise people how good his numbers are this season. He's also been devastatingly great against left-handed pitching. He's got a 1.035 OPS and a 171 WRC plus within the split so far this season. And John Lester, as Nick talked about, is just not a great pitcher right now. His last outing against the Royals was his first good outing with the Cardinals, but it was against the Royals. It doesn't really count. The Brewers are a much more difficult spot for Lester to deal with, and he's got a 5.3 FIP for the season as a whole. I think Milwaukee can put up some crooked numbers tonight.
All right, where we going, Nick? Agree or disagree with Avisail Garcia? He's going to cost you $4,300.
Another guy that was on my mind tonight, but of course it's a smaller slate, so you're going to run into that quite a bit. But I'm actually going to go back to the Dodgers game, and I'm going to go with A.J. Pollock at 4.4K going up against Walker. And look, we talked about how Walker did well last time out against the Dodgers. I understand that, but I don't like a guy going back-to-back starts, especially a guy who Garion said Walker has had some struggles of late. When you look at Pollock, I know he was quiet the last 2 times these teams met, but he's had a very good month. And he's also a guy that you don't really have to worry about splits with too. So I'm going to go with, and he had a big night last night too. He had, 3 hits and a home run. So I'm going to go with Pollock as my guy who I'm going to target Walker with tonight.
All right, finally, Garion, your favorite value play?
Let's go with Anthony Rizzo, $3,700. I'm still quite, not really sure why Rizzo's price has remained this low. I know his stats for the season as a whole are not amazing, at least to his career standards, but he's been really good since coming over with the Yankees. He's off the COVID IL and immediately had 2 RBI in last night's game against the Red Sox. The most important thing here is he's hitting second, or he's probably going to hit second, as he's done a lot in this Yankees lineup tonight against John Gant. Now, it's so rare to see a team have an implied team total above 6 runs. It usually only takes place when a game is happening at Coors Field. The Yankees' implied team total tonight is 6.6 runs, and that's really a reflection of the Twins bullpen and John Gant, who has just awful numbers in general, but specifically as a starting pitcher in 2021. He walks everybody, which isn't generally great for DFS, but there's going to be a lot of runners on base. There's going to be a lot of run-scoring opportunities for the Yankees, and I think Rizzo can come through in one of those key clutch spots and pay off this salary. All
right, Nick, do you like Rizzo, or are you going to pivot to someone else?
No, Rizzo's got to be the guy tonight. He's definitely the number 1 value play, and I was surprised to see him at 3.7K. But I do understand that he's slowed down a little bit since he first joined the Yankees. But still, this is a guy you can't pass up on when he's facing, a meh pitcher as much as it's going to be a bullpen day. And you're at Yankee Stadium too, where the wind is going to be blowing out to center field, I think. So, and look, with Gant, we might only see him for 1 inning. Maybe we see him for a couple innings. So maybe Rizzo only gets 1 shot at him. But the Twins bullpen, as Garion was saying, has not been good this season in general. In this month, they have seen their ERA drop a little bit, but their FIP indicates a little bit of room for regression. So you got to find ways to target the Twins tonight with the Yankees lineup, and I think it starts with Anthony Rizzo.